Hello, everyone. It's the afternoon of February 9th, and I am here with Labor Commissioner candidate Brett Hume. And Brett, how are you doing this afternoon?
Real good.
And it's good to have you here. Thank you so much. We have a crowded Labor Commissioner field this year, and then I'm thankful for all of you for doing this. Running for statewide office is a big deal, and you're to be commended for doing that. So I appreciate that.
Thank you, sir.
All right. So what I do at the beginning of these interviews, I always give the candidate a chance just to like a minute or two or whatever to introduce yourself, your background, your family, whatever you think is relevant to knowing you a little better. So I'm going to turn the camera over to you now so you can do that. Go ahead.
Well, thank you. And thank you. Thanks again for reaching out.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm the oldest of three boys, and we grew up in South Florida. So yard work was a way of life for us
Yeah.
with the seasons and all, because there was no real seasons except
Right.
rain and dry. But got introduced to the whole work ethic by the parents. At 13, I had my own paper route after school on my bicycle in the neighborhood and then was cutting grass on the weekends. And I've worked ever since my entire life, everything from short order cook, fast food, pizza delivery, construction, doing inventory at my dad's pharmacy, which taught me a business aspect of
Mhm.
work, which was turned out to be very beneficial later in life. But
Yeah.
was setting hydraulic pumps to pump for subscape work, to pump out lakes and community developments. That was real neat and encouraging. Four-wheel drive truck and everything. That at 20 something years old, loving
That's a
life.
big that's a big deal there.
Right, it was, and had money in my pocket, so I was happy.
Right.
Uh, did a bunch of sales for a while, Waterless cookware, had a bread route for a while. Started my own wash and wax business, mobile, uh, helped a restaurant bar management for a little while, and kind of the cross section of employment, and ended up in insurance, life insurance field, and I
Mm.
still am today.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. You've had certainly had a lifetime of experiences there across the board, and that could come in useful for this particular job. So, why are you running specifically for Georgia Labor Commissioner this year?
Well, the last 10 years, I've been, in addition to the insurance side, doing political work for the Carpenters Union at the Capitol.
Mm.
And there was one specific issue, misclassification of workers, and that's the short version is W-2 employees are being misclassified in 1099,
Yeah.
and that's so the bad apples can get out of paying the tax liability.
All right.
It took 10 years. I got involved the last five heavily, and we passed legislation in 2022. The governor signed it, but the Department of Labor is the agency charged with enforcement, and there doesn't seem to be any. So right now, it's words on a paper. Uh, to specifically answer your question, I'm running for labor commissioner to put workers back in the driver's seat of the labor department. Past 15 years, business interests have kind of directed the agency, and workers have taken a back seat if recognized at all.
Right. And you pointed out a good thing about the workers. I think the misclassification. Are you is that specifically about like the Uber those kind of jobs, or is it a wider array of jobs that are having to happen to them? You know, you have
Actually,
people talk
Tom,
about gig economies and all that, but yeah, who is that talking about specifically
you
here?
could actually choose the industry. It's that rampant.
It is okay. Okay.
I've most of my experience was in construction, but trucking, uh, hospitality, home health, entertainment. You can choose the industry. It's going on.
Okay. And I imagine since you said that, the next question was going to be what are your two top issues? That seems to be number one
Certainly, certainly.
is handling classification. What are some other, let's say, one or two other issues that you think are important for labor commissioner?
Secondary, the economic development piece. I believe the agency has a huge role in economic development in bridging the curriculum to train the workforce to employers, i.e., apprenticeships, any other kind of certified registered training. And it seems to be haphazard when it could, if enough attention was paid to it, it could really be beneficial.
Right.
Uh, and I see that as a huge untapped market of those looking for the craft and the career opportunities, not knowing where it's available and where they exist and how to access them.
Right.
Not everything is a technical college alternative either.
Right. Right. Yeah, I know you have the 4 years and the 2 years, and those are all great, but they don't necessarily cover everything. So right. So economic development and the issue of the misclassification of workers, that would probably be your top two
Yes, sir.
uh, issues. Okay, cool. Thank you for that. Now, you mentioned before, I think you kind of referenced it before, that Georgia is much ballyhooed being the number one state for business, et cetera, which is fine. Fine. That's good. If that's true, that's good. It's not necessarily, or it's not even close to being the best state in the union for workers. And what do you think needs to change to make that better for work? You've already mentioned some of it, but what are some other things do you think need to be changed? The role of unions or anything like that that could help the plight of workers in the state?
Well, you've touched on a very appropriate subject. We're actually number 48th
Right,
in workers' benefits, wages, conditions of employment, and overall wealth and health.
right,
The irony is workers just want to share a bigger share of the wealth they create.
right,
And to your point, the union's not the answer to everybody. If you got an employer that's treating his folks right, classifying them properly, compensating appropriately, probably don't need a union.
right.
They're in the minority, those companies.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, the whole capitalist concept of the most for the least tends to leave workers behind because in construction, especially, there's only two variables, labor and materials.
Hmm.
Well, materials is kind of fixed, so labor has to be cut to maximize their profit, at least on paper.
Right,
For employers to share, or how should I say this, enable the workforce to participate greater in the wealth they create, whether it be through direct wages, benefits, other compensation items. Uh, it ends up costing them less in the long run because they've got lower cost on retention of employees,
hmm,
retraining, the whole hiring, firing process. And that
right,
good morale affects productivity in a positive manner. It also affects and reduces workman compensation claims, as well as overall health care claims and ultimately premiums. So, by taking care of the folks that are enabling the employer to make that wealth, we end up with a healthier community.
hmm,
And it'll move us from 48th up the ladder in terms of workers and still not necessarily jeopardize the number one place to do business.
right. Yeah, I don't think there necessarily has to be a conflict between treating workers well and having a good business. You can look around. There are businesses who actually treat their workers well, and they're still great businesses. I'm heading to one tomorrow called Costco. They do a pretty good job at that. So there are companies out there that do that quite well, and it is certainly possible to have that happen. Uh, and just by the way, I'm curious. I'm a former union. I'm a retired teacher, so I was in GAE. The Carpenters Union, is that part of AFL-CIO or is that its own?
They're not.
They're not.
They
Okay.
they pulled out in the early 2000s.
Okay, I wasn't sure about that, so that was a curiosity I had. Okay, so this is a crowded race that you're in. I think at last count, I think there are 8 or 9. I think there are 9 maybe candidates that filed. Now we'll see on qualifying week if all 9, qualify. But it's a crowded field. Let's just put it that way. So,
Mhm.
what do you think in your background, in your experience, in your life? what sets you apart from the other Democrats running in the race, as best you can tell? You may not be able to, you may not have met all of them yet, but from what you can see, what gives you an advantage over the others that would make somebody vote for you?
Actually, I haven't met any of them.
Okay. Well, I was
But
gonna say, yeah, you probably haven't yet, but we're just now getting to that part of the campaign. So yeah, go ahead.
certainly, certainly. Um, the 36-year background in as a union representative and the fight for work and families inequality definitely would set me apart. I served as vice president of the Central Labor Council, which is the umbrella AFL-CIO
Okay.
organization for the Savannah area. 9 years and president for 16. So, in addition to the building trades, I got familiar with the other industry represented unions, needs, concerns, public sector, private sector as well, manufacturing, that kind of thing, and service. So, the insurance piece allowed me to build, I didn't know it at the time, but a communication infrastructure throughout the state. I wasn't just limited to Savannah area. So that is the background, the leveling of the playing field initiative, for lack of a better goal, uh, and a lifetime of efforts to that end is probably what's going to separate me. Because if they had close to any of the other opponents had a similar background, I would already have know that.
Right. And so, do you think, kind of moving into the politics of it a little bit as we head into the campaign, whether we're talking about the primary or if you become the nominee, the general, when you think about political strategy, I'm thinking that your connection with various unions and various labor organizations that's going to be a pretty central part of your campaign as far as organization, right? I would
Certainly.
think so. Yeah.
Certainly, certainly, not just the leadership, and that's where I have another advantage, being in the communication piece with the rank and file members, because at the end of the day, leaders are busy doing their thing, representing their members, and through communicating with the rank and file, gets the word out there better, and obviously now we're counting votes.
Right. Yeah, unions have to do a lot of that vote count. Like I said, I was in GAE and went to a couple of national assemblies, and it can be pretty, it can be pretty intense on the voting side of those sorts of things. So now, I think you and I think all the other labor commissioner candidates are either fairly new or are new to the political process as far as running for statewide government. From what you know about running or having a statewide campaign, uh, and how Democrats have not done so well in the past at times with those statewide campaigns, what do you think is a way or an idea that can improve Democrats' chances this year in winning statewide offices, which we haven't done in a little over 20 years?
Sure, sure. I personally believe, for me, that once I get through the primary, I'll end up with crossover votes because labor issues are not partisan. When you talk worker economics, good jobs, good wages, safe jobs, and benefits, that's not unique to any party.
Right,
Everybody wants that. So the messaging will be just such as that. And I will believe that there'll be a lot that say, hey, this guy has got the history, he's got the record. We need to back him. So
right.
I think in the general, my race specific, I have an excellent chance of coming out on top.
Very good. Thank you. Yeah, I think a lot of people think unions are pretty much all Democrat or Democratic organ. They lean Democrat, which a lot of them do, but not all of them, and not certainly not all the members. There are Republican members of unions, quite a few, and so yeah, there is the potential for crossover there within that structure, and hopefully we can capitalize on that a lot. Um, well, we sort of went through the issues and kind of looked at a little bit of the campaign and what it might look like. We got qualifying coming up in March and then the primary in May. So I think somebody told me recently, I think we're under 100 days. It's already getting that close, I think, now. And it doesn't feel like it, but it is. So May 19th is not that far away. So we're going to kind of wrap this up a little bit. And I always give a candidate a chance to look in the camera and give like your stump speech, like why you should vote for me to the voters who are going to watch this. So I want to do that now for you, Brett. I'll give you the camera and tell people why they should vote for Brett Hulme as their next Georgia Labor Commissioner.
Well, thank you again, Tom, for having me.
Yeah.
And if you really want to see change in the Labor Department specifically and make the Labor Department work for workers like it was intended to work, then 36 years of fighting for equality on workers' behalf is my record. So I would ask everybody that thinks we need a change to actually be the change. And to be the change, you need to do more than just vote. Obviously, support, prayers, and sharing any kind of social media posts that would help, because that's the way we end up winning this. Because Brett Hulme, Friends of Brett Hulme is the Facebook page. My website will be up in the next week or two now that our first disclosure is over. And you're looking at a working man for working people, and I'd love your support.
All right, Brett. Thank you very much. I can appreciate that. Being a former working man myself, I'm retired, but I do appreciate that so much. And thank you for running for office. Again, it's a big undertaking, and anybody who steps out for that is to be commended. I appreciate what you're doing, and best of luck to you on the campaign trail. Hopefully, when you come up to the mountains anytime soon, come on by to Dade County if you can come up this far, and we'll be glad to see you sometimes.
Tremendous. Thank you again for the invite.
All right, Brett. Thank you so much.
Be safe up there.
All right, you too.